So one thing I try to avoid talking about, for reasons, and you'll understand why in a moment, I try to avoid talking about the Democratic primaries, not because I don't have very strong opinions on each candidate, but because we have a fascist in the White House. And I think we need to govern ourselves accordingly. And what we love to do more than anything else, because I participated in it and I understand how easy it is to get caught up in the divides on the left side of the spectrum. Now, mind you, that is a really big range, right? That includes centrist Democrats who are basically conservative, particularly on the international spectrum. Centrist Democrats are further to the right than, or equally to the right as the Tories in the UK. So when we say the American left, we really are talking about a really broad range of people, basically who aren't Republican. And that goes from centrist Democrats all the way to communist, socialist, Marxist, Leninists. There's a very big range. But when we talk about the primaries, it becomes very easy for us to engage in this intra-party battle. Basically for what this party is going to look like, what the Democratic Party is going to look like. And included in that are some people who have similar politics to us, but their approach to this is burn it all down, burn the entire Democratic Party down. There's nothing we can do with it, burn it all down, and let's commence with the revolution. More power to you. We have a fascist in the White House, right? So when election day comes around, govern yourselves accordingly. Now, all that said, I wanted to make sure that you understood where I'm coming from. All that said, there's a lot of interesting things happening in this primary. And we haven't even begun the primaries in earnest. Bernie Sanders was here in Atlanta this weekend. He made a couple of gaffes in response to questions from the audience. I was actually there in person, and I like Bernie Sanders. I'm actually a huge Bernie Sanders supporter. Generally, I like all of his policies. I just from following him, though, I think it's safe to say that Bernie Sanders, in a way, is not the revolutionary. He's a politician. Listening to his answers to the questions, you can see him calculating like a politician calculates to make sure that he doesn't overcommit, undercommit, and tries to say the precise thing. I think he's far more a standard politician than we would like to believe. And I say that as a Bernie Sanders supporter. However, he's very closely tied, in my opinion, with Elizabeth Warren, who has her policies, like we've coined her policy bay, #policy bay, because she has plans, right? And in a way, it's like what Bernie Sanders has the moral clarity on. Elizabeth Warren is demonstrating that she can make a plan to implement it. And so she has a plan for that. And so for me, those are the top two in my personal running. And that's just my personal opinion. Like every single one of you is going to have a different opinion. And that's fine. I think it's important for us to be able to talk about the good and the bad in each of our candidates, right? I think the most critical thing for us in this primary is to not fall back into the vice of being more interested in fighting internally than realizing the fight that we have externally with conservatives, because we are at a pivotal time in American history. I can't overstate, I can't say this dramatic enough, right? There's no amount of hyperbole that I can wrap this next sentence in to convey you the severity of this, of what's going on. What Donald Trump has done already, it's going to take almost a full generation for us to undo. When you think of his some 100 or more judicial picks throughout the judiciary, the federal judiciary, when you think about his picks on the Supreme Court, particularly Kavanaugh, when you think about the massive sweep of policies of passing bills, anti-abortion bills, specifically with the purposes of overturning Roe versus Wade, and now we have a conservative majority on the bench, and it's very possible that that could happen. The damage that Donald Trump is doing in his one term is going to take us a lifetime. I mean, an entire generation. If I'm around, if I haven't gone crazy or like, whatever, I'll have a full beard of white hairs instead of the one or two that I have by the time we're able to undo what Donald Trump has done, unless we get some Democrats who are strong enough and radical enough to actually shake this system up, right? Like, can we afford to wait an entire generation for abortions to be legal again in this country? Or do we need Democrats who are willing to talk about packing the courts in 2020? So as we look at the primaries, it's important, and I think it's meaningful for us to argue. It's meaningful for us to be able to look at the differences between each of these candidates and to clearly delineate the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. Like Joe Biden, right? While he's polling wonderfully, he's doing wonderful in the polls. He's really doing wonderful in the polls because of Barack Obama, right? Joe Biden has a lot of baggage that he has to take account for. He has to be accountable. He has to explain. He has to be able to tell America. And he's actually taking the opposite course, right? He's saying that he's not going to apologize for anything. Well, that's going to be a hard road for Joe Biden, and that's going to be a problem. Mayor Pete doesn't really have any accomplishments, not many to speak of. I mean, I know a lot of dynamic mayors across the city. But what Mayor Pete does have really well, and I don't mean this as an insult, is a great team. A great PR team, a great team of people who know how to amplify him into the national conversation. So they're candidates who are going to be. How do I say this? I don't want to be offensive because I don't want to let this clip be used as a way of dividing us. But I'll just say it like this. There's going to be good and bad in each of these candidates. Some are going to have more good, some are going to have more bad. And that's the entire purpose of the primaries. We have to fight it out. We have to hash it out. But you can't hash it. Listen, another thing, for a lot of people who are still Bernie or busters, you cannot win this fight outside of the Democratic Party. You need to register. You need to register to vote. I mean, that was a big impediment last time. A lot of people had not registered to vote. They were fighting. They were online, and they were intense about their participation online, but they didn't get and register by the deadline. And if you believe that the Democratic establishment is going to sandbag Bernie Sanders, then you have to vote in numbers that they can't deny, right? And then even more so, right? There has been opportunities for people to get involved in these parties. And when I say parties, I mean the local parties, and to participate so that those type of shenanigans don't happen in your precinct. So it's a huge battle that we have going on that's going to continue, and rightfully so. I'm not telling anyone to not fight about the primaries. I'm saying have it out. Be sober about your own candidate. Like, I'm very sober. I like Elizabeth Warren, but I am very keen to the idea, not keen to the idea. That's not what I want to say. I'm very cognizant of the reality that she's going to have a hell of a fight with Donald Trump winning the general election because of how easily Donald Trump attacks her in a way that previously has almost neutralized her. So I want to see that particular fight. And I have problems with some of her foreign policy. Similarly, Bernie Sanders, he has a couple of blind spots that he's had for a long time. I won't talk about them now. You can go to my channel and see some of those videos. But there's things that we have to be realistic about each and every one of our candidates. And I think for us to have a fair assessment, we need to be honest about the pros and cons about our candidates, just like we're honest about the cons of the people that we don't want to become the nominee. But all that said, when it's all said and done, I just have to emphasize, maybe we need a daily reminder. No matter how bad, I forgot about Kamala, all the things that she is and the things that she's not. I just want to emphasize that we have a fascist in the White House, an authoritarian who would gladly be a dictator, who ignores the rule of law, who thinks he's above the law, who ignores checks and balances, who uses the bully pulpit of demagoguery to get his way, currently in the White House. So honestly, as unpopular as this statement is, no matter how bad any of these Democrats are, they are 100% better than the fascist that's sitting in the White House. Now, my hope is going to be that it will be Bernie or Elizabeth Warren or a combination thereof. But whoever wins, I'm telling you now, I'm throwing on their t-shirt and I'm going door to door. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. David will be back, and we will